Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Gaby U Show. I am your host, Gaby Udobor, and today I have another amazing guest, Kyle Moss. And I'm going to be introducing you guys, talk to you guys some things about her, and then we will get right into the show. So, Kyle Moss, she is a joyful mindset coach and self proclaimed purveyor of joy. She provides coaching and consulting services for ambitious women and organizations to help them discover clarity, confidence, and contentment. She, utilizing her more than 2 decades of leadership, mentoring, and coaching experiences from around the globe, her aim is to infuse positive energy into everywhere she goes. Having spoken to audiences of all sizes across 4 continents and hosting the expert interview series, Kyle works collaboratively with each client wherever they find themselves to find fierce, vivacious, and intoxicatingly joyful solutions to everyday challenges. While not coaching, Kyle can be found creating her signature joy in a jar body products, practicing at home yoga, and adventuring gratefully through each day with her husband, 2 kiddos in San Diego, California.
Hey,
Here is Kyle for you.
woo! It's always an experience to have someone read what you've written about yourself.
You're like, oh, wow, okay.
Sometimes can I smile about me?
Yeah, it's like, wow, that's me, right? It's
Oh
so
yeah,
much different. Yeah.
I have
Mhm.
arrived, huh?
Yes, you have arrived on the stage now.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. All right. So I'm so glad to have you here today. And so before we get started, this is something I thought of doing for all my guests. It's kind of what I call the icebreaker questions.
Love
So the
it.
first thing I'm going to ask you is, what is your favorite food? I love food. I love cooking and all that. So I always want to know what people's favorite food is so that maybe I start cooking it too.
I love it. Well, and you're gonna laugh at me because I know you've got a wonderful, healthy background. And while I love healthy food,
Oh,
what
yeah.
first came to mind was my favorite food is Nutella. Do you know what that
Okay,
is?
not yes. Yes, Nutella. Okay.
And I figure here's my reasoning is that
Okay.
I know it's not the healthiest thing for me, but it makes me so happy that
Yes.
there's no way it's not healthy in the end when I eat it.
Well, the Nutella, what is it made with? Hazelnut? Or
It's
what is
hazelnut, but it's like
and
a
chocolate?
crap ton of sugar and oil that's not good for you. I know it's
Yeah, so maybe when later we'll talk, there is another option. I think I saw it one time of
yeah.
another healthier way you can do Nutella, which you will not miss. Because that is one thing I do. I have all these delicious, unhealthy foods and I try to tweak them some.
Ooh,
And that is one of the things I love doing. Like all
yes,
these foods people
please.
are like dying for. I was like, okay, let's see how we can make it more healthier and still taste delicious. So I
Love
think
it.
I
Please, any recipes for Nutella that's actually healthy, I will just, I love it. Well, my second, it was funny because the two foods that came up were Nutella and then poke bowls. So
poke
I
bowl. Which
love
one is
my
that? I
poke.
don't know that one.
Oh, it's like a raw ahi or salmon um,
Okay.
on top with like seaweed and sometimes like nuts or cilantro and rice.
Okay.
I think it's
Huh.
mostly Hawaiian. I think I'm Hawaiian in my mind. I'm not.
Yes.
I'm like everything but Hawaiian.
Okay.
So
Huh.
that's how I, yeah. So poke bowls are one of my favorite things too.
Oh, I will need to check out on that. It sounds really good. All those combinations. I'm like, looks like it had a lot of spices too. I love spices, so that's something I need to check out.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So the next thing I'm going to ask you is, what is your favorite quote? I love quotes. I feel quotes have helped me so much. So I like to know what other people's favorite quotes are.
I love this question because I just the other day was
Hmm.
talking about the importance of surrounding yourself with specific guiding quotes, but
Yes.
really importantly, like over your bed. That's not my bed. I don't know why I pointed there.
Yes.
But like how if there's something speaking over you at night, and then the first thing you see in the morning, imagine
Yes.
the impact that that has on your day when it's a
Yes.
positive, like whatever it is that encourages
Mm.
and inspires you.
Yes.
So, but my favorite quote that popped into mind is actually a Bible verse from the Psalm.
Yes.
It is, if you know the Message translation of the Bible, which is more like how we speak.
Yes.
So it's Psalms 27:1, and it says, light, space, zest, that's God.
Oh my.
I love that translation. It
Oh.
goes on, I'm looking at it. It goes on to
Mm.
say, so with
Mm.
him on my side, I'm fearless, afraid of no one and nothing.
Oh
So
yes.
I just love
Oh
that
my
translation
goodness.
of who God is.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite, most motivating quotes that I have all around my house.
Oh my goodness, that is awesome. And you see, that is the same thing with me that I do. I mean, I probably have maybe some few on my walls, but I now started putting them in my phone, in my, you know, notes and all that to kind of remind myself, started putting verses because I am also, a woman of faith, and that is something I feel has shaped me where I am. And so I have this thing to remind me, and that is something I recommend for a lot of people to do because it's not going to be rainbows, happy all the time, but you want to be
Yeah,
prepared and have this thing. This is like your tools when you start feeling down. You have to go into looking at all these quotes, motivation stuff to kind of like, okay, keep you going. So
yeah,
that's
yeah. Well, here,
essential.
I love that you said that because you're
Mm.
exactly right. Like, it's not if you experience interruption in life's plans.
It will
It's not
come.
if you hit like the rainy day, right? It's when.
Mm-hmm.
It's when. And
When.
so I love to say what you just described. I have a friend who calls it your shit pit toolkit. Sorry,
Yes.
but I must. It's like, what are you equipping yourself with when
Mm-hmm.
you are down? Like, have you protected yourself to get your mind back on who you are and who
Yes.
you're living as when
Yes.
when those things come your way? So I think scripture and quotes are such a perfect way of doing it.
Yes. It's
So I
gonna
love that
keep
you
you
tell people
going.
to do the same thing.
Oh yes, that will keep you going. Gotta be ready. It will
Yep,
come as long
yep,
as you are in this world.
yep.
Especially this year has been interesting. So
Especially this
yeah.
year.
All right. So the next thing I want to go ahead and ask you is I want you to share with me the key things that you felt have shaped you to be the woman you are today. Okay. Your
Mhm.
struggles, your victories, is it in health? Is it in business, faith? I want you to just go all out on that. What do you think that the key things?
Sure. So when I read this, so full disclosure, you did tell me these questions before, and my brain was just like, there's so many things,
Many.
right? Like, how do I convey all of these things
This.
that have shaped me? And I'm sure if you're watching or if you're listening, you feel the same way, right? When you're asking yourself that question, which I encourage you to do right
Mm-hmm.
now, like pause the podcast, pause the video, and
Yes.
ask yourself the same question,
So,
right? How did I get here? Right? There's been a lot of good, bad, ugly for
mm-hmm.
all of us. So the way that I wanted to approach it, and I'll probably you'll have to reel me in because I'll just go and go.
Let's get it out.
But one of the things as a joyful mindset coach that I get to do with clients is really help them better understand their own personal ways of being.
Yeah.
So, how do you show up in this world? And it comes from what has shaped you, right? It
Mm-hmm.
comes from the successes, the challenges, the choices you've made. We were talking about backstage. It
Mm-hmm.
comes from things you've decided to do even when you're scared, right? And
Yes.
you've done them anyways. I'm sure, Gabby, you have a million examples of things you're like, I could
Mm-hmm.
sit here and wonder, or I could just try it out, right?
Yes.
So again, like I encourage anyone listening is do the same practice. And what I do is I call this my ways of being. And there's
Mm-hmm.
4 things in there. All of them are shaped by different experiences,
Yes.
different life choices. So I'll go through them pretty quickly and then I can give
Mm.
you some examples. But number one is I have a divine curiosity. So what
Mm.
I mean by that is there's a God,
Yes.
right? There's, your faith might be all over the board, all over the map. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in my way of being, I am super curious about what it means to be divine beings
Mm-hmm.
and what it means to have a God that is above all, that has created all, but
Yes.
yet also manifests himself within each of us. I'm just curious about that. And so because I'm curious about it, it's kept me on a really, really interesting faith journey.
Yes.
I've, I've been able to like go, okay, I've been taught certain Christian things growing up,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have family that are Jewish. I have friends that
Yes.
are Muslim. I have, right, like I've got all of these other examples.
Yes.
What does divinity mean to me? And then how does that in turn shape who I am and how I show up in the world?
Mm-hmm.
So above all, I've got this divine curiosity that, again, that's one of my favorite quotes, let
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. Number two, my second way of being is humor. And
Yes.
I put humor in small slash all things.
Are you born in July?
No, I'm born in February.
Okay. Okay.
Why are you in July?
Yeah, because I love humor. I put humor in a lot of things.
I love it. It's a
Yeah.
tool that we've been given, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yes.
all love to smile, even more so we love to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And as painful as some things can be, laughter is medicine.
Oh my goodness, it is.
It
Yeah.
really is. And it's a really
It's
interesting way to
free and it's free.
freeing. It is, I mean, like, I would argue it can be a workout at times. Like, if you
Yes.
laugh
Mm-hmm.
really hard, you can feel that in your gut. Like, who needs
Mm-hmm.
to do ab work when you can just laugh it up, right?
Yeah.
So that's number two is I find humor in
Mm.
all small things. Um,
Yes.
my third way of being is gratitude.
Mm.
Gratitude for everything.
Oh yes.
I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm just like, if nothing else that I teach them, I want
Mm.
them to be grateful.
Yes.
And I mean that in the smallest, funniest of ways, right? Like
Mm.
sometimes I'm like, I am thankful for my pinky toe. Because
Yes.
without that, without both pinky toes, I would be much less balanced.
And that's the thing. People don't realize that. I say, I don't have anything to be grateful for. It's like, yeah, you are living in the house. You have water.
Yeah.
You
And
have
don't even
food.
start with the house. We all have different living arrangements. Start
Yes.
with your body.
With
Like
your
if you have
body.
a
Yep.
functioning
Mm-hmm.
body, like today I was just telling my daughter, like I'm so thankful for my hair because it
Mm-hmm.
has made me feel really beautiful. Um,
Yes.
I don't have to have it to feel beautiful, but I'm really grateful that I do have it
That's
because
habit. Yes.
I really enjoy it and I really appreciate it. So if you don't know something to be grateful for, literally just name, there's like 200 bones in your body.
Oh
Just name
yeah.
them up and start being grateful for each
Starts
one.
with yourself, your body right there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
would take you a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my third way of being. And my
Mm.
fourth way of being is vision for what
Yes.
could be. So a lot of what I've done in life is, I think, again, like we talked about earlier, what could be if I made this choice, right?
Mm.
So a specific example is I went to 3 different colleges because
Mm.
I could not decide, number one. And I was just like, wait, what could be if I
Yes.
went somewhere else? If I took this leap, if I took a different path.
Yes.
So I feel like there's a way of being of saying, I live in hope and
Mm.
vision for what could be, right? What could
Yes.
be in my life? What could be in my kids' lives?
Mm-hmm.
Another example of this is I have a son who was born with a cleft lip and palate.
Oh, okay.
And so, do you know what that is?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he was born basically with like a really big extra hole in his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
right. So he had no palate. So if you imagine putting your tongue to the roof of your mouth, he had nothing there.
Nothing there.
So nothing
Mm.
to protect from his nose. And he was basically born deformed.
Wow.
So we knew this, thank God, before he was
Mm.
born.
Yeah, you could really
Uh,
see it from the ultrasound. Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can
Mm.
see it. Yeah. And I could go on and on about how that experience has helped shape my marriage and helped shape my parenting, and just me in
Mm.
general. But the example here is that I have spoken from a very young age, even when he
Mm.
was still in my belly. I have said,
Yes.
okay, God, most of the world is going to view this as a
Mm.
weakness.
Yes.
I demand right now, like I declare that this is actually going to be used as a strength. I don't know
Yes.
how, but my vision is that maybe he uses his voice, which is so
Yes.
delayed and so
Mm-hmm.
difficult right now.
Yes.
Maybe he uses, or maybe my daughter watches this process and becomes a healthcare provider.
Mm.
Maybe, I don't know, like I just have vision that beauty can come from ashes.
Yes.
For what could be is my fourth way of being. Um, so yeah, so those are some of the things like I would say that
Mm.
are categorically
Yes.
how I show up in this world.
Mm.
And again, I can go on about like growing up, I mixed ethnicity, right? So
Okay.
grandparents are from 4 different countries.
Oh, wow. It's really mixed.
Yeah, really big. So both my parents are half white, half brown, we like to say, right?
Okay.
So I've got a grandpa from Jamaica,
Oh,
I've got a
wow.
grandma from Lebanon, and then so anyway,
That's why I couldn't figure out you.
yeah,
It's like, oh.
no one knows. I fit in nowhere and everywhere
And
at the same
everywhere.
time.
That is really cool.
Yeah, so that's definitely shaped me. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it shows up in those ways of being. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I find humor when people start talking about like checking boxes about their ethnicity. I'm like, I check them all. Like I'm everything. Right?
Yes.
There's things
Wow.
like that. And like I said, very informative of my parenting was how my
Mm.
children came into this world and knowing that above all, I wanted them to have kindness and gratitude.
Yes.
A lot of that is shaped by my international experiences.
Mm.
So being really, really, really blessed to have a job for 10 years that took me to, I think it was like 25 different countries
Wow.
and being exposed to,
That really helps a lot for the way mindset and appreciation when you go to different countries that are not America and you're like, oh my goodness. Yes.
exactly. And I actually went to the most random of places. And not only random, but then like really, really rural places
Oh,
where there was
wow.
like no running water and there's no electricity
Mm.
sometimes. So I've been blessed to experience something
Yes.
really shaped me. And again,
Mm.
it gives me humor, it gives me vision. I'm
Yes.
grateful, right? And it has all of my ways of being show up in these experiences because it
Mm.
points me back to God when I'm like, I
Yes.
am so curious. Like we're all doing life so differently, right?
Mm.
So I'll wrap it up with that. Those are my ways of being and some of the experiences that have helped shape.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I mean, that's kind of, comes back to why you even do what you're doing, the joyful mindset coach. I don't think we see many of them. Maybe they didn't give other names, but I can see how this has led you to what you are. All this exposure, all these things that have happened to you. And, when you talk about, going to being, having opportunity to go to different countries is, you know, because I think for people here in America, I feel we're privileged and blessed with so many things, and
Yeah.
sometimes we just complain and all these things, especially with the kids. I mean, like for me, I grew up in Nigeria, which is a developing country. So for me, maybe it's not a big deal because I can see the difference, but I sometimes try to remind my kids about that. And I was also a person that used to work with different people from different countries. I used to work with the refugee population some
Mm,
years as a nurse practitioner, and I had the opportunity to see people from different countries, see when they come how appreciative they are to be here. And when I hear their stories, and I share
mm,
those stories sometimes with my kids, and tell them, look, you see kids, little kids, that you would think they are supposed to be older, look so young because many things, nutrition deficiencies, suffering, and all that stuff. And that's we have a chance when we experience such things. It changes the way we think or how we appreciate things.
mhm,
And just in your story, when you were talking about your son having the cleft palate, it's something that right from when he was in your womb, you were already declaring positive things on yourself, and which has shaped you too to be who you are. Because there's one thing, I think it's a quote or something, it said, change, use your mess, turn your mess into your message.
yeah.
Yes.
So
And
good.
and there's this thing about unfavorable things happening to us. But somehow those things are the things that, God is trying to use you so that you will be that person to tell a story to help somebody. Sometimes I know it's not fair that stuff happened to us, yeah, but there is a reason why it happened. And
Yep.
over the years and over time, we start realizing, and like, oh, this is the reason why, because there's
Yeah.
something about our story. It's not just textbook, but your own
Yep.
story is so much powerful to help people. So, I,
Yep.
you know, so those are the kind of things that, as you were saying, speaking, I was just kind of, putting like, how things can happen
Yep.
to share
No, and I love
really.
it. Your your message is so good.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I'll talk about it. I'm like, turn your pain into your power, right?
Yes.
And you
Mm-hmm.
do that with mindset because
Yes.
you've got two options. You can think about it as just pain and waste, or
Yes.
you can think, what was this given to me for? What
Yes.
purpose
There is
does
a reason
pain
for it.
have? And like
Mm-hmm.
turn it into your power. So
Yes.
I love that. It's kind of the same as the messenger message.
Mm-hmm.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've all got that
Because
option,
there's yeah, because there's always something like I've heard sometimes when people they will say, "Oh, I don't know what my purpose is.
right?
I don't think I have a purpose." I'm like, no, you just have not discovered it. Everybody is here for a reason.
Yep, I
you know.
agree. And it's hard. It is hard though. It's one of those
Mm,
things that it can be really difficult to look at your own life and just kind of like find the themes that are woven
yes.
into it, right? But it's so important.
Mm,
So important because I have it written down here like two of the
mm.
biggest killjoys, right? I talk about joy all the time,
Yes.
foundational, but two of the biggest killjoys are untapped purpose. So
Yes. Oh.
refusing to figure out what your purpose is, in an unbalanced schedule, which I think we can
Yes.
all agree is like
Mm.
a challenge
Oh
to
my
all of us
goodness.
at sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, and that's we say on tap talent. It kind of goes through your favorite verse, No, is it that's the one? No, there was something you mentioned in the verse about God giving us the talents. Um, there's a thing in the verse. I'm trying to think which verse, but
Okay.
in the Bible about if you don't use your, I don't know why I'm referring that it's you that said it, maybe it's but but talking about if you don't use your talents that He give you, He will take it away from you. You know.
Yeah. And I mean, don't we see that in people that go like, I don't know what it is? And it's like, it's because you've maybe not made choices that have helped you develop it. So
Yes,
it's still there. I
it's
think it's
still
still
there.
there. It's
Mm-hmm.
just something that, and that's exactly what I get to do with people is go,
Yes,
it's in there somewhere in your mindset. So
yes.
flipping that mindset and then taking a look back and going,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're right. This is what brings me alive.
Yes.
Oh, is there an opportunity to use what
Mm-hmm.
brings you alive? Because that might be the intersection of your purpose. It might be,
Yes.
maybe not,
Yes.
maybe not, you know?
And yeah,
But
and that's why I need people like you. And that is the thing of if you say you don't know, you have to work. Don't just rest. You have to say, okay, if I don't know, I need to find way to know it. Is it for me to hire a mentor, hire a coach,
Mhm.
seek help so that you can discover what it is? Because, that's the
Yep,
thing too, you know.
agreed. And
Yeah.
because talking about it helps.
Yes.
Talking about it, we don't talk about this enough, right? It's not a
Mm-hmm.
subject in school that we study
No,
enough.
they don't have time to teach that.
I know. I wish, if only, we might actually be, well, who
Mhm.
knows? But in any case, it's not something that's taught as well as,
Yeah.
like it's kind of been like this woo woo thing is your mindset. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh no, it's everything
It's
starts with a
everything.
thought. Everything
Yeah.
starts with a thought. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot even have a feeling before you've had a thought.
Yes.
So, right, to find that purpose. And I would say again, if you're listening and you're
Mm.
having trouble going like, I don't feel like I'm full of purpose,
Yes.
maybe you're in a season of life that feels purposeless, right? I talk
Yes.
about that all the time. There's reasons and seasons for certain
Mm-hmm.
periods of time, right? Like
Yes.
like that newborn phase with your kids, you're just like, why is anything happening?
Yeah.
Right?
So
So
how
I
long
get
would we
it.
go through this?
Yeah, there's times we've been through that. But just really take advantage of a pause in your day. And again,
Mm-hmm.
look back and say, what, maybe even ask yourself, why am I feeling purposeless?
Yes.
Right? When's the last time I felt like I came alive?
Those, yeah.
Right? Or even the question
Yes.
like, what makes my blood boil?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
something,
yeah.
right? Because the opposite of that might actually help you go, oh, I want to be an advocate for something,
Yes.
whatever it may be. So ask
Mm-hmm.
yourself some questions. And if you, again, like you said, if you don't have that ability right now, you can't figure it out, get help. Enlist
Yes.
a friend, a family member, or even a coach like myself. I
Yes.
offer, we'll talk about it at the end, but I offer
Yeah.
free joy sessions.
Yes.
Get a session and figure out what it is that can bring you alive. And then figure
Yes.
out, do that. Go do more of that.
Yes, that is so powerful. And, as you're just saying that, this is something myself I have done so many times, because I was somebody that's, um, I mean, I still have my struggles, but I was this person that my resume is long because there is no place I'm working. I get tired, like, why am I not feeling it? It's like, oh, I started, and then I started being jealous of people that when they start telling me, oh, I've worked in this place for 10 years, 15 years, and I'm like, okay. I haven't achieved that. What's wrong with me? But everybody's different, and it was just that I keep on seeking and looking like what is my purpose. Me and God, we're always having that discussion. Like, God, please show me what I want me to do now. Let me do it. I don't want to keep going around. And
Yeah.
yeah, looking for that help, looking for those mentors to help me through it. And also, one thing you were saying that just came to my mind that sometimes, we have to go reset and think, why are we not feeling that purpose? Something is, going back to seeing when was the last time I felt that joy or feel fulfilled. And sometimes it can even go back to as your childhood.
Yes.
This is something for me that I had to personally, I did that because I love to teach. I love doing educational stuff and all that. And which is why when I left my job, last year when I found, I got burnt out and I was just like, wanting to go start creating my own business, my own coaching. But then I was like, trying to do a business, but I still need to work. And I started looking like, okay, I love teaching, and I decided to go into teaching in a nursing school. But then it started coming to me. I've always, wanting to do teaching. I do a little, sometimes I do teach CPR as well, all those stuff. But then I'm always in that level, wanting to do teaching, teaching, teaching. You could hear that thing. And then I
Mm-hmm.
started realizing that when I was little, I used to do that too. I mean, I remember this time in my life, I had to go back. I think I was listening to a podcast and it said something about that sometimes you have to go back to your childhood about things you see yourself doing naturally, or,
Mm-hmm.
people are wondering, like, surprised that as a child, how could you be doing that? And I remembered there was a time I would gather all these kids from the street and tell them, hey, I'm going to be teaching you guys today. I had no idea what I was teaching them. And I'll get the board, they all sit on the ground, have your legs all wrapped, and I'm there teaching something. And
Okay.
we were serious about this teaching. I think, I don't even know, maybe I was like 8 or 7. I don't know what I was teaching, but they were focusing. And I could remember that. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I knew how I love to do that. So,
Yeah.
it's sometimes we just have to go back to those things
Yeah.
we see in our childhood. What
Yes.
people have always kind of been commenting on you, like, oh, you seem to be really good with this. We just have
Yes.
to
Yep.
take that pause and go back
Yep.
and start,
Yeah. And
so
the beauty is, this is what happens, right? You started talking about your childhood and you're going
mm,
back and kind of thinking through what that could translate to in
yeah,
adulthood. And I
yes,
did the same thing when you were talking, right? I'm listening to you
mm.
going, oh, yeah, wait a minute. I used to do something similar. When I was really young,
Mhm.
I convened women,
Yes,
we were all under teenagers.
girls,
There were
little
girls.
little women.
But I would get them together and I'm like, hey, let's be like a babysitter's club where we have meetings and we talk and
Yes,
I'll create flyers and I'll take them around. And so I'm like, oh, that's what I'm doing now is I'm
yeah,
connecting women and I'm saying, let's
yes,
work with each other because this is exactly what happens when you start to talk about your purpose and what it may be.
mm-hmm.
You get inspired by each other, right?
Yes,
You stuck together and
mm-hmm.
encourage each other to step a little deeper into who you are meant to be.
Yes,
Do it together. So
yeah.
thank you for illustrating that exactly, Gabby.
Now it's like, oh, I've been doing it already, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's all there. I think God has given us all those tools. We just need to discover them and use them. He's probably just sometimes when we are just going back and forth, he's just looking like, oh Lord,
Oh yeah. My God
I'm
is
give
always like face palm. That's what God does in my mind all the time.
yeah, I think that's one of my,
Like if
I
you're
don't know.
listening or watching, I
Yeah.
love it because we've been talking about God a lot. I don't know if you talk about this a
Oh
lot on
yeah,
your
I do.
show. Okay, so that's awesome. But you might be thinking like, oh, because I know you said something about asking God, right? Like a lot of people are
Yes.
like, oh, I should just be able to ask God.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know what? The best explanation I ever heard about asking God and you will find, right? Like seek and you
Yes.
will find, knock and the door will be answered, all those
Yes.
great verses, great scripture. But sometimes it's kind of intangible. You're like, what does that mean? Where am I knocking? I don't know. And I get that. So I love this explanation. It was
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we're asking for these answers, right? Like, give me
Yes.
an answer, give me clarity. And it doesn't come, but you meet someone or
Yes.
with
Comes in
someone
different
or
forms.
it
Yeah.
comes. God doesn't give us answers. He gives us each other.
You think you hear God to say, "That's my child," like
Yeah,
no,
like,
you're not gonna hear that. And
the
that's
way
what
the
I,
Morgan Freeman in like a white
yeah, yes,
like,
that's
here's what you do. It's like, no,
it
God
doesn't.
gives us each other.
It gives the
I love that
time, the
explanation.
people, and that's why I tell my kids. I tell them, I say, look, if you are in trouble with anything, God is always there. You don't have to wait till we come together to put your hands together to pray. Anything you can ask God. You don't have to wait till you are in trouble. If you're a girl, I have had so many times I'm in a place I can't find a parking spot. And I say, God, please help me. I cannot, and I will get a parking spot or something. I'm getting lost. And I give them this story all the time. One of my favorite one I always tell them is my cake story. Yeah, I'll share it with you real quick. But it was
Okay.
one of I was I think about 7 years old. I think since then I started believing in the power of prayer. you
Mm,
know and I know, okay, so my mom, she used to work with all these big hotels and all that, and so they always bring us Christmas cakes, like cakes,
okay.
all the time Christmas. And so it was already like the 24th, Christmas Eve. We haven't gotten any cake.
Oh no.
And I'm like, okay. I told my mom, I was like, we don't have cake this year. What is gonna happen? My mom, she just said it like, yeah, go pray about it, like that. And girl, I went to bed, I prayed, I said, God, we need a cake and all that. Well, come Christmas, we went to church, came back home. My brother, one of my brothers, he didn't want to go to church, so he was at home. So came back, and guess what? There was a cake on Christmas Day. And I
Oh,
was so, I told my mom, Mommy, I prayed, and the cake came. And
oh.
my mom was like, "Oh, you see, like," and she too was shocked too, because I guess she was already thinking, "Oh, there won't be cake."
Oh
And I
wow.
said, "Mommy, I prayed as you told me, and look at that." Since then, I have been like, it's kind of, I think I was wanting to have shaped me with prayer, and that's why I tell my kids, look, it doesn't have
Mm,
to be unto you, and even with people, adults, I say you don't have to wait till you're in trouble. Every
no.
single thing you can pray about it. Talk to God. God is there. You don't have to,
Yeah.
be on church before you do that. He is there everywhere.
Right. Well, and the beauty about what you just said
Mhm.
too, this is something I tell my clients all the time.
Mm.
I practice it myself, but it's saying you also have to write down those
Oh,
experiences, right? Like write
yes.
down because those become like you were so grateful, right? You
Mm-hmm.
learned the lesson of prayer. You were grateful because,
Yes.
like, probably more grateful than you'd ever been for that cake because it showed up,
Yes.
prayed for it, you'd manifested it through prayer,
Yes.
right? And so writing those things down
Writing
because
it down.
I
Yes.
have a gratitude jar
Mm-hmm.
and I'll just write things down and I'll put them in there. And I haven't decided when I'm gonna like take them out. Right? I'm like, oh, I want to
I
read
think
them.
I
Like
need
I'm
to do the jar because I do my writing, but thinking about the jar, maybe I need to
the
start that in
jar.
2021.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it'd be really cool. Because my kids have written some. My husband, I'll
Mhm.
like write them down for him
Do
because he's
you
like,
have it separate? A separate jar or just
no, it's
one jar?
all in one. It's like a
Okay.
family one.
So how
Um,
would you know which who is who? You write your name?
Well, I
You
think
just
the things we are writing are pretty specific, right? There's things
okay.
like this, like I prayed for a cake and we got
Okay.
it. Like
Okay. So you
I
can know
know
who
one
is
of them
who.
in there is like
Okay.
my husband's job
Mm.
transitioned at a very specific time. So we prayed for that and we were so
Okay.
thankful. So like that's the exact thing that's how you
Yes.
begin to embody gratitude.
Yes.
Write it down. So I
Oh
encourage
yeah.
anyone listening, write it down somewhere because without that,
Mhm.
even the craziest things that we think we'll remember forever, we don't.
We don't.
We
Yes.
don't.
I
But
highly recommend that.
yeah,
Yes.
there's so
Writing it down.
much evidence in our
Mhm.
past. Just like you gave that example, there's so much evidence in our past of the power of prayer or manifesting that or being
Yes.
grateful. And if you write it down, it like doubles the impact, the
Facts.
positive impact on
Yes.
your
And then
mind.
you won't feel like, especially in those times when you feel like you're stuck, you are not seem like you're moving on or what, then you see all those things. Then you'll be like, oh my goodness, I have
Yes,
really come a long
exactly.
way. It's just like when I was
Exactly.
reading your bio, you kind of, I guess you were just like, wow, is that
Yeah.
me?
Wow. Oh yeah.
I did all
Exactly.
that. That is
Precisely.
yeah. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is so what are you most proud as a woman today? Would you say? I'm sure there are many things, but what is one thing that if I wake you at night and say, "Hey, Kaya, what are you proud of?" You can just wake up and tell me.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Mhm.
Gosh, there's just like this line of things that I'm like, I'm so proud of this. I'm so proud of this. Right? Like, gosh, I would say, okay,
Mm.
in the last decade of my life, I would say,
Yes.
again, I'd also pull out a few things.
Oh, that's fine.
But one of the things that I'm really proud of is that um, when I had the diagnosis of my son, knowing he was going to be born a little different,
Yes.
it could have been something that became my identity, right? Like I could
Mm.
have felt like a victim. I could have lived a life only based around him and like accommodating him and doing everything
Yes.
like thinking like it could have been because I've seen that example a lot. I've seen
Yes.
people
Mm-hmm.
live in their diagnosis or
Oh,
live in their
yes.
circumstance or live victim to whatever decisions or results that they've experienced.
Yes.
But I'm really proud that instead we've done a few things, right? Like I said,
Mm.
I declared that this would be instead a strength. And I've
Mm-hmm.
lived into that as much as I can by redeclaring it over and over to remind myself.
Yes.
We also really tapped into a community and said,
Mm.
we're going to share this struggle because I think it's going to help other people.
Yes.
And I know that I need that community around me to
Mhm.
continue his medical journey, as it
Yes.
continues. And yeah, again, like I think instead of it being like I'm a parent of a cleft child, it's like, oh,
Mm.
child, oh yeah, yeah, like he had cleft. It
Ah,
was
yes.
something that
I have a
affects
yeah.
us a lot,
Mhm.
but it hasn't overtaken who
Mm.
we've become. It's
Okay.
just a part of our story.
Yes.
So I think, and like I probably have done that with other things in life, but I
Mm.
think very specifically that was something that people have even said, like, it's amazing how you've navigated
No,
this. And I'm like,
yes.
you know what? It's through prayer, it's through community, it's
Mm-hmm.
through being willing to be scared and just doing it anyways, and just going like, okay, we're just gonna like keep going, make a decision, move
Yes.
on, make a decision, we're okay.
Yes.
So yeah, so I think again, not allowing any of my circumstances, most specifically that
Mm.
diagnosis of my son, to
Yes.
become my identity. I'm
Yes.
really, really proud of that.
Oh, that is awesome. Very
Thank you.
good. That's great. So
You're
I was
welcome.
just going to ask just me with my nurse practitioner brain here. So did
Mhm.
you ever do like anything surgery for him? I know they can do some reconstructive surgery. I've seen
Yeah,
some.
he's had 4 surgeries
Okay.
in 3 years.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
yeah. It's usually a lot of yeah. Okay.
yeah. They do the first one.
Mm,
His it's a whole thing. The first little
mm,
bit of time is really
mm.
intense.
Okay.
But then the first surgery to correct his lip and kind of create the nose
Okay.
was he was about 4 months old.
Okay.
So that happened right away. And then about a year later, we had another one. And then
Mm.
it goes along with like ear issues. So he's had a bunch of ear tubes in and out, all that.
Yes.
So
Okay.
yes, he's had 3 to 4, and he'll have quite a
Mm.
bit more before he's grown.
Okay.
But we're in like a non-surgery time, which is really nice. Like we have like
Yes, you're
in
taking
between
a
surgeries
yeah
right now.
non-surgery time. Let's just do our thing before that time comes back again. Okay, that's
Exactly.
awesome. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
know I have gone to I've seen some of them when I used to be a nursing student. They've made us to go to different rotations and they
Sure.
make us go to OR. So I see some of them. So okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
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 All right. So, what is one encouraging word you want to give our listeners today, or words, I would say,
Yep.
sentence,
A sentence. So we were talking about this before, but
Mm,
I would say as a joyful mindset coach, right? I believe joy is foundational
yes.
and it is found through figuring out who you are. So go
Yes.
and do that. It is foundational. It lives within you. It lives
Mm-hmm.
with your pain. It lives when happiness comes and goes.
Yes.
And you've got the ability to tap into it. So
Yes.
remind yourself or learn what it means to know that joy is foundational. Because I think we were all meant to experience that deep
Mm.
contentment and satisfaction and exuberance, but it's just
Yes.
covered up by a lot of things. So find out what that means to you, because joy is
Yes.
foundational for everyone.
Yes. Absolutely. Awesome. So, how can people connect with you, joyful girl?
Sure, I love it. So there's the best place, the one place that I love to send people is I have a Facebook group
Okay.
called Just a Little More Joy.
Okay.
Right? I don't want to overwhelm people with like joy, joy, like, oh,
Yeah, right.
I just want you to have a little bit more, a
Just a
little
little
more
bit more can go a long way.
you
Hmm.
know, baby steps to anything in life.
Yes.
You don't transform overnight. You don't like figure out who you are overnight, right? So it's
Mm.
called Just a Little More Joy on Facebook. I would love to
Okay.
meet people there.
Okay.
I go live and I do my own interviews there.
Yes.
Lots of fun sharing. So on Facebook, Just a Little More Joy group.
Okay. Awesome. Are you on Instagram or?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
My handle is my name, so at
Okay.
Kyle Renee,
Okay.
KYLERENEE.
Oh,
But that's
oh,
more of like it's like a little joy. I mean, it's joy all the time because it's just me.
okay. Okay.
But it's more fun and family than
Okay.
business. So
Okay.
yeah,
And
but come
do,
along for the ride.
yeah, right. Yeah. And all these resources, I'm gonna put it if you're listening to it on the podcast, I'll have it in the show notes. And then if it's on YouTube, I'll have it on the description page so you can know how to connect with Kyle. And are you offering any thing, freebies or anything like that for
Yep.
your
Yeah,
listeners? Anything they need to know about that?
yeah. We
Mm,
kind of we talked about it a little bit, or I touched on
mm,
it.
mm.
I am offering right now 30-minute free joy sessions.
Okay.
So if you don't know what coaching is like, and if you're like, I don't really know, or I don't want to
Mm,
talk about like whatever it is, these sessions are just to talk about what it means for you to come alive.
okay.
And like that goes along with what are you
Yes.
struggling with,
Mm,
right? Are you struggling with health issues? And I'm sure you talk about this all the time, but it often
yes.
manifests in your mind along with your body. They're very connected. So we
Yes.
get to talk in 30 minutes what it means to be you and how you can be the fullest, most vibrant, joyful you.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah, so
I'm
it's
sure my
free.
listeners want to be vibrant.
Yeah, well, and I love that you picked up on that because I'm actually launching something in the new year. So come
Okay.
into the Facebook group so that people can find out. It's called Vibrant Me.
Oh,
So yeah,
love it.
academy that's coming. I know, I'm so
Oh,
excited.
yes. I'm already feeling vibrant right now.
Yay!
Yeah, so you guys hearing all this, you guys need to jump on that. And as I said, I'm going to put all these notes so you guys can see it and connect with Kyle. Oh my goodness, Kyle, it is also nice having you today.
Thank you.
This ends the episode, and I will see you guys next week.
All right, bye everyone. Thanks for listening and watching.
Yes, bye.